Hi guys, welcome to the Spots of Wisdom podcast. I'm Shannon and I run Spot That Dog.
I'm Jade and I run That Dog based in Wrexham.
For those of you that are on YouTube today, I'm clearly in a different setting, so sorry if the camera goes a little bit wobbly. Today's topic is choosing the right pet professional for you. We may go off onto a little rant about this one and the pros and cons that we see within the pet industry. So, Jade, how long have you been a dog trainer? And have you ever used a pet professional beforehand?
Okay, so I have been dog training for 5 years, but before that, I was a dog walker and a dog sitter, probably for a good 4 or 5 years before that. So I've kind
Okay.
of done it all. Um, I have been to training classes with my dog. I have never used a dog walker or a dog sitter though. I
Okay.
only
And
have family members that do it for me. So
okay.
I've never been in that position, if I'm honest.
Okay. And with your puppy classes and stuff that you've been to, how did you find that?
I
Not
ended
in
up
hindsight, how did you find that in the
right,
start?
during the time.
Yeah.
At the time, I really enjoyed them, if I'm honest, but that was a case of I was in university doing animal behavior anyway, so it was
Okay.
something that was always going to be interesting to me.
Yeah.
The class itself was really good. There was I think there were 6 dogs in the class, so very small class. Lovely trainer, little bit blunt, so you have
Okay.
to take it with a pinch of salt, but very, very good. And I ended up doing work experience there afterwards, so
Okay.
worked out quite well.
Very nice. Yeah, no, I've not actually used um anyone else. I have. My friend used to do dog sitting as part of her like horse business. Um so that also doesn't count because it's
Yeah.
not the same. Because I'm in the same situation as you, that I've had like family members take care of them. I've reached out to some, so I've reached out to daycares when Woody was younger and wasn't reactive.
Mhm.
I have reached out to dog sitters and pet sitters or walkers or whatever. Um, but yeah, I haven't actually needed to use anyone because in the industry that we're in now, I do have friends that I can get. So like when I went on holiday last year, I got my friend to walk my dogs, take them to
Yeah.
the secure field while my mum was at home so she could take care of them, but someone else would walk them and stuff. So I
Yeah.
haven't personally used a pet professional. I have dog trainers, like obviously
Yeah.
Woody's reactive and I've only been training for 3 years, so I've had a range of dog trainers. Um but not anyone walking or sitting wise. So
I mean, I've been to other classes since, but then I'm not sure if that's because I'm a dog trainer anyway. I'm not sure if it's fair to criticize those, but I have been to a range and they do differ quite considerably. So I've had
yeah.
some that have been very small in size and they're fun and engaging and everyone's doing something at the same time. But then I have been to classes where it's very much you are to kind of sit in silence. We're going to do this exercise and we do
Yeah.
this exercise for 40 minutes over and over and over again. And it's a little bit boring. So I have
Yeah.
variety of different ones.
And that's, yeah, I get that because I've had, again, in hindsight, it's different when you don't know anything, but like our first class we ever did with Woody was obedience. And
Yeah.
we're talking cross style. The lady had 4 border collies.
Mhm.
She was about 5 foot tall and about 70, but she knew what she was on about. But again, a border collie compared to a Dalmatian,
Yeah.
they're completely different. And
Completely
Woody
different.
hated obedience. Like he'll do it now,
Yeah.
but as a he would have been 10 months old at that point. As a 10 month old dog, obedience is not
That's
what they
hard
want to
work for
do.
a 10-month-old Dalmatian, isn't
Yeah, and it was just
it?
circumstance. Like I couldn't do puppy class because I didn't drive at that point, and I was already getting my parents to drive me to the stables. Like it was an extra ask on top, if that makes sense. So it just wasn't puppy class wasn't a thing, but we managed because the obedience was literally 2 minutes down the road from my stables. We kind of did a 2 in 1, um, so that worked out. And then yeah, so we've gone obedience. We went to agility. That was at 2 different venues. We obviously love agility because that's the thing that we're into. And then behavioral wise, how many have I used? Through a range of different reasons, we've used 4
Okay.
trainer slash
Yeah.
behaviorists. None through any fault.
Okay.
Just like the first one, she stopped working on weekends, so I couldn't do it
Yeah.
with her. The second one, we just got to a point and it just wasn't progressing any further, and it was kind of a mutual decision. The third one, she had a change in career, so it is what it is. And then obviously we are working with another one now, just because Woody's is a little bit more complex and
Yeah.
me handle it on my own. And equally, I don't know about you, but sometimes when you have, it's like us having a conversation,
Hmm.
you need an outside perspective
Oh,
other
100%.
than just what you know. And I think, as we've said in different ones, like training your own dog compared to training clients' dogs, it's completely different. And we'll go into that on
Yeah.
another podcast. But yeah, it's completely different. So like again, my experiences on pet professionals personally is completely different. But as a pet professional,
Yeah.
as we will get in, opinions on other ones out there, it varies a lot.
Yes. 100%. I think part of our job as well is recommending people we think are suitable to our clients. I think
Yeah,
that's part of something that we should be able to do and that we should be able to do truthfully. So if a
yeah,
client comes to me and goes, I'm looking for a dog walker and I've looked at this person, I have no problem with turning around and going, well, I wouldn't use that person if that was.
yeah. And it's being able to give reasons, not just being, don't go with this person because they're shit. Like,
Yeah.
don't go with this person because they walk groups of 10 dogs. Don't go
Yes.
with this person because they don't put seatbelts or cages or whatever in their car. Like,
Hmm.
not, we've all got our opinions.
Yeah.
And while in our head, it might be that actually they're a bit crap, we need to be professional and actually give the reasons on why rather than
Yeah.
outright slating someone.
Rather than just going, I don't like her, don't use.
Yeah,
You've got to come up with
yeah,
some valid reasons. And I've seen dog walker wise, I've seen some awful ones, and you just think you're getting paid for that. And also, if how many clients would you lose if they knew that's how you were behaving when
yeah,
you were out with their dogs?
yeah. And we've seen, and this isn't anything that's hidden. I've
Yeah,
seen dog walkers with 11 dogs
yeah.
in a secure field.
Hmm.
So not only is that over the council limit by
Yeah,
almost
we'll be doing that,
double,
actually. Yeah, yeah, it will be.
it will be over the insurance limit.
Hmm.
But they outwardly advertise this. Like, so they don't say, oh, I take 11 dogs out. They will post their walk up on
Yeah,
their page with all the dogs' names, which ends up in 11 dogs in one walk. And right, those owners might be fine with it,
yeah.
but for
And
me,
I'm sure some owners are. Like some will be. They'll be fine. They'll be like, oh, my dog's going out with 10 other dogs.
yeah,
They're having the
how
best
great is
of
that?
their life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And sometimes it is not ignorance, is what's the word?
Yeah, no, you're right. I
It
think
is a little bit not they
yeah,
just don't know.
people don't know.
Yeah.
People don't know. And I think I was thinking about this before, and I think if you've grown up and you've had lots of nice little fluffy, friendly dogs that have never had issues before, in your head, taking 10 lovely, fluffy, friendly dogs out for a walk is a lovely idea.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think for me, obviously, so I do dog walking, pet sitting. We work with a range of other animals. I'm obviously dog trainer. Having worked in a daycare, so
Yeah.
a very secure venue, like the whole shebang, it's very proper venue. Having worked in a daycare where the council limit for a higher standard is 8 dogs,
Okay.
you see how quickly things can go wrong.
Yes, I think that's what people have to consider, even if you're using a secure field. So some secure fields are massive. So there's
Yep.
one for me, and I think it's 4 acres big, I think. So if you've got, let's say you've got 6 dogs, let's pick a sensible number. You've got 6 dogs. one of them has an accident or two of them have a fight.
Yeah,
Are you in the position where you can separate that fight, get all the dogs back in the van?
yeah,
Bear in mind, if you've got a massive overweight Labrador that's, got an issue, are you in the position you can get that Labrador back to the van by
yeah.
yourself? It goes wrong very, very quickly.
And it's also like knowing how to handle those situations. So obviously, when you're in it compared to what you're told is different. So we were always told, right, don't physically get in the middle of the fight because
Yeah.
obviously, if you get injured, then you can't come to work. So it was chuck a bucket of water at them so that it distracts them, it gets them out, make a loud noise, make a bang, this, that, and the other. That's not always going to work. Like, it has worked. I've done it. I've had to split up fights.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You work with dogs, you work with a lot of dogs. There is going to be scraps. I mean, it's the same at home. We've had, well, we've got 4 dogs now, but we've had 5 dogs, and 2 do get in scraps occasionally.
Yeah.
You've just got to get involved and actually, well, yes, theoretically, you don't want to get in the middle of it. Sometimes you've got to. And if you're going to walk 11 dogs and you're not prepared to get right into the middle of it,
Yeah.
not something you should be doing, especially if, like, you do see walkers out there who don't, right, I don't think dogs should be paired on size, but
Yeah.
you've got a massive lab and a tiny miniature dachshund, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah. And it'll be an accident. It'll be the
Yeah,
Labradors misplaced their footing or they've
yeah,
rolled over and it's not anything, aggressive. But then leading on from that, then talking about fights, I think if you're gonna pair or group dogs together, you should absolutely be able to read body language
yeah,
first. So I have seen so many dog walkers that cannot see that an issue is about to happen before it happens.
yeah.
I've just been passing, or I've been out, or I'm with them, and maybe, we've gone for a walk or whatever, and you're looking at some of the dogs and you're like, that's going to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
oh, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, that interaction is not a good
yeah,
one.
so those who live local to me and who know what I'm on about are going to love this.
Yeah.
There is a local group walk
Yeah.
in one of the areas that we walk where 15 to 20 people meet up with their dogs,
Yeah.
take over the public space with their dogs, and just let them run riot. Some of my clients' dogs have got involved and not liked it, and they've got shouted at because their dogs have reacted in the situation.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you've got 15 to 20 dogs, possibly more, because if one person's got more than one dog, running absolute king riot, chaotic around this whole space, none of them know anything.
Yeah.
A lot of them are older,
Yeah.
in the nicest terms, they're
Oh, it
60
happens.
plus.
No.
Then you've got the ones who are probably my age or younger who are clueless. And some of those dogs I know from daycare, I wouldn't be putting in those situations.
And you can imagine it, can't you? So I've not seen it. I've no idea what you're going on about, but in my head, I've got visions of like 20 dogs running around causing chaos while all the owners stand in little
Yeah.
groups having a chat,
And it's on
maybe
Facebook.
a coffee
It's
and
daily on Facebook.
yeah.
And you're just waiting for one accident to happen, but you wait for the outside owner to get blamed. Not
Yeah.
because this group are stood there having
Yeah.
a chat while the dogs are running riot.
Yeah.
It's, well, your dog came in, our dogs are always fine. But
Yeah.
are they? Are
And I
they really
found as
fine?
well. So I do the occasional, like we hire a secure field and I'll take a couple of clients and we go for a walk around the secure field. The dogs always, always, always get silly when you're stood in one
Yeah,
place. So we come in, we say hello, we unclip leads, so there's no frustration building, and we walk round the outside of the
yeah,
field. We don't stop in a corner
yeah,
and let the dogs do
yeah.
whatever they want because that's going to go
And
wrong.
the other thing, like, we've noticed this especially ourselves recently, so with Bucky and his brother, and we figured it. So they've been having little tiffs recently, and actually, what we've realised is that every walk we've gone on, they've been off lead, they get to play. Well, it's
Yeah,
now built up a load of this excitement and this, not
yeah,
tension, but this frustration because they're every single time they meet up, it's just excitement. So actually, now what we've got to do is do lead walks because we need them to realize actually not every time they're together they have to play, or it gets too
100%.
exciting. They
Yeah,
need to learn to be chilled together. And this is what's happening in this group of people, is that every single time their dogs meet up, they're playing, which is fine. Dogs can play,
yeah,
great. But again, you're then gonna have the issue that those dogs think that every other dog that they come past is a dog they can play with.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it just creates more issues in itself.
I see it all the time, all the time. But I still also see, yeah, so dog walkers, there's a couple by me, there's a couple that I recommend to everybody, there's a couple that I don't. And I've seen all sorts. I've seen things like you mentioned before, dogs not secure in the vehicle. I've driven past a dash hound that's nearly gone through the front
Mm,
window because it's been sat on the
yep.
front seat of the car. And this dog walker braked and the dog nearly went through the windshield. I've seen that. I've seen dog walkers that have packed a van full of at least 12 dogs and they take a pair out at a time,
Yeah.
take a picture of them, put them back in the van, and then sit and drink coffee for the remainder of the time. I've seen that.
So we've had a mix. I have seen a car, which is fine. If you drive, I drive my dogs in cars
Yeah.
sometimes, but I only walk one dog at a time.
Mhm.
Um, right. So you think in a car you've got one in the front seat,
Yeah.
technically three in the back, and technically one in the boot. Unless you've got a boot divider, for the sake of seat belts, you could fit three in the back,
Yeah.
one in the front, and then if you've got a boot divider, two in the back.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, you can
But
only fit six in your
safely,
car.
yeah, 100%.
Whether that is still safe is a different
Yeah.
question,
Mhm.
but hypothetically, you can fit six in a car. This person must have been walking nine dogs.
Really?
So how she managed to securely fit nine dogs in a car? We're talking like a hatchback, so like the long ones, which is fine. I think it's a hatchback. I don't know.
No,
The long ones, the
where
long
you
cars. So
more.
like a Volkswagen Passat or whatever it is, Volkswagen. I
Ones
don't
that
know.
look like a rectangle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the long ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, still not enough room.
No, I don't. No, I don't know how you'd fit them all in. And
But
imagine if one of those dogs started something in the back of that car.
yeah. And the one for me, I don't know if this is. I think this is the same walker. I think she's changed cars.
Yeah.
I have a client off of them
Yeah.
because one of her dogs ran away, and she put it back in the car and carried on with the walk.
No way.
I'm not going to name names. It is what it is. Nothing to do with me. I've now got the client. It's
I went
fine.
through a stage of having a couple of really dog reactive dogs, one after the other.
Right.
Like they spate of them in about a week. And the common denominator between all of them was they were all going to the same daycare.
Yeah.
And I was getting one, I mean, I don't know if I should say it or not, but the daycare was sending them to me because
Okay.
recognizing that there were issues. So
Yeah.
I suppose in
And
that
that's the
doing
problem with
something.
daycare. Like, it's not necessarily, some daycares will be at fault, some not. They're just, some dogs are not suitable for group settings, for daycares. Like, some are suitable for small groups, that's fine. Depending on the daycare, depending on the size of it, a lot of those dogs aren't getting rest. So they'll be at daycare for 8 hours a day. They don't get
That's
time
the
to rest.
issue. Yeah.
So the dogs are tired, they're frustrated, they get over the top. It's just not suitable for every single dog. And that's the thing where owners think they're doing the best thing for their dog by sending them to daycare, giving
Yeah.
them that outlet so they're not at home on their own all day, but actually get a good walker that can take your dog out for an hour for the day. If you really can't go home, find a good walker who will take your dog out for an hour, bring them back. They don't need to go out on group walks. Like, great, there are some good group walkers out there,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Don't know many of them. As in, I have a couple of close friends that do some really good group walks, and all the dogs are really well behaved. They
yeah.
recall really well. They settle nicely in the van together. They know each other because they're out all the time with each other. And those I will recommend, but there's not many that do
Yeah,
any.
I think I've only got one or two group walkers that I recommend. Um, Solo walking is different,
Yeah,
but again, I need to know that they're a decent walker. I need to know that they're insured. Like for
Yeah.
me, if I was going to employ a walker, they need to be insured, first aid check, trained, and DBS checked. While that's not legal requirement, that's what I'd want for my dog.
Yeah. Yeah, look at it from what you'd want from a
Yeah.
personal point of view. Now, I don't know if you have them by us, but the daycares I see that have the most issues are the home run ones.
Yeah, so we've got a few, but I'm not aware of any of them, if that makes sense. Like we've got a big daycare, which is the one I used to work in by me, and then I know there's a couple of home boarders or carers,
Yeah.
but I don't know
Yeah. I should
reputation wise.
clarify that because I have friends that do daycares from their home and I don't mean them. There's a couple by me that have a small house, a small garden, and they've tried their best to fill that garden with as much stuff for the dogs as
Yeah,
possible. So, I mean, they've got climbing frames, they've got trampolines, they've got all sorts. So then the space in which these dogs can run around is minimal. The space they
yeah,
can get away from each other is minimal. They're not provided places to sleep or rest. So they're running around in these enclosed spaces for hours and hours and hours. I've also seen how some of these daycares feed their dogs
yeah.
and they feed them together in a room next to each other from bowls. And I'm just
And
like, that's going to go so wrong.
for the ones that you see, do you know what time frame they're there for?
It's an all day daycare.
So
They'll leave
overnight
with
or
like,
just
no, not overnight. They're not permitted to do overnight, but they will do like I think it's 8 till like 6. You're there for the whole day. So owners essentially will drop their dogs off, go to work, come home from work, pick the dogs up. And then the dogs were absolutely exhausted. So from
yeah,
an owner point of view, they pick up this dog that from what they were aware of has had the best day running about.
yeah,
They take them home, they crash for the night. In their heads, jobs are
yeah.
good.
And for me, I don't think dogs should be fed at daycare. They need to be fed before and they need to be fed after.
Yeah.
Um,
There used
unless
to be a really good daycare by me that had a really, really nice, it closed. And it was the one I'd send everybody to because it was so well run. And they had different sections for different breeds and play styles. So they grouped them based on like energy levels. There were some that needed feeding, but they had a separate building for that.
yeah,
So the dogs went in, they had their food in a separate room away from each other. Then they went in their crates and they had a rest for an hour. And then they were brought back out as and when. So that, amazing, great. But you see some pictures, and the one I'm thinking of in particular is they're in a tiny little kitchen and there's like 8 or 9 dogs and they've all got bowls of
yeah,
food. And I'm just like, I don't even feed my dogs like that. My dogs have no issues with each other, but they're fed
yeah.
separately.
And that's the thing, like for me, my dogs don't have a routine of when they're fed. They get fed when I wake up and they get fed
Yeah.
at
Mhm.
some point between 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah.
So I get puppies need to be fed more often and stuff like that. Dogs under the age of 1, but unless there's a medical issue, I don't see why someone's dog needs to be fed at daycare. You're just
Not if they're
increasing.
over that puppy age,
Yeah,
which, to be honest, probably shouldn't be at an
no,
all day daycare anyway.
no. It's
No.
just one of those. For me, it's just a risk that you're taking that doesn't need to be taken.
I think it's that not knowing because I think I've spoken to people in my classes before and they're feeding their dogs. So they're big, heavy Labrador type dogs, and they're feeding them and then taking them for a run straight after.
Hmm.
And it's not until you start discussing that there's risks to that that they go,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't realize that.
And sometimes daycares do get stretched and things go wrong. And it's just, if you give your dog food to go to daycare, you're just adding an extra risk for something to go wrong. Like, there's an extra risk that another dog might get pissy over it if they haven't got the facilities to do it properly.
It takes one issue, doesn't it? And you've got
Yeah.
one dog to go, no, that's not
Hmm.
acceptable.
Especially if, like, if you've got a dog who has got dietary issues, say they've got 10 dogs that need feeding that day, you risk them getting fed the wrong food.
Yeah.
You risk that your dog chokes on their food halfway through the day. You risk that your dog gets bloat. It's all stuff that doesn't need to be done. Your dog can just be fed at home.
No, I agree completely. Yeah. There's a couple by me that like you mentioned, regularly lose dogs. That's happened quite a few times.
Oops.
They,
Walkers or
they go out
daycares.
with like 8 dogs. And this is not a secure field, this is
Oh
out
yeah, yeah.
like the wild, and they go out with 8 dogs, and you stand talking to them, or someone you know has been talking to them, and they look round and they go, "Oh,
Oh,
you do realize you've
yeah.
only got 6 with you at the minute, don't you?" And they're like, "Oh, no, I didn't." Or I've been followed by one of their dogs
Yeah.
before for a
We've
very
got
long.
one regularly, so in the same area as that group from earlier, and you regularly hear him calling for the same dog. You know, it's a golden retriever that's gone missing.
Yeah.
The dog's fine, but that's not the point.
Yeah,
And
the dogs are always having the time of their lives. The
yeah,
dog's like, "Oh, this is great, fantastic."
yeah,
But yeah,
and it's just another reason why. I mean, we walk reactive dogs, so it's different, but it's another reason why we don't let a lot of dogs off lead, because
yeah,
unless you gel with that dog,
yeah.
who's to say they're going to come back?
I mean, I did what you did, so I only walked for 90% of the time. I only walked one dog at a time. I took reactive dogs, and they were the dogs
Yeah.
I stuck with. It worked really well. There were 2 other dog walkers in the village. One took little dogs, one took big dogs, and I took the dogs that they couldn't have, and it
Yeah.
worked really well. And I think most owners ticked the box on my form to say, let them off the lead, that's absolutely fine.
Mhm.
Whether they actually ended up off the lead was
Mhm.
down to me, and whether I
Yeah.
thought,
And that's in my terms and conditions, is that if we don't feel the dog can go off lead, then we're not going to do it. Like, we'll put them on a long line, we'll let them have that freedom, but if they are not coming back to us, we're not letting them off. If they can't even acknowledge their name, we've got some dogs that don't even look at me when I call their names, so they're not
I'd
going
have,
off.
yeah, no, just because the owners told me that that
Mhm.
dog could go off, yeah, I need to
And
know.
that's, for me, another thing, that if you're employing a dog walker or a pet sitter, they should have terms and conditions. If you're not signing
They had
something, I
paperwork,
wouldn't touch them.
forms, and tick
Yeah.
boxes and all sorts.
My
Um,
terms and conditions are about 5 pages long.
yeah,
If you ain't got them, I don't want it.
I mean, I had insurance and first aid and all the rest of it. How many people actually asked to see that was a whole
Hmm.
other story. But
I do have a couple of clients that have asked for it, which is great. Um, I mean, I go in telling people that I'm insured first aid and all of that anyway, but yeah, it's one of those.
something else that I've just thought of that bugs me quite a lot is dog walkers that don't have any qualifications in training. Okay, so
Mhm.
a normal dog
Oh, I've got a
walker,
good one.
yeah, that has come in off the street and has decided they want a dog walk, giving out training or veterinary advice to
Hmm.
clients. And that, I
Stay in your
shouldn't
lane.
say it, it's too specific, but like I've had clients or potential clients that have decided to stop doing something with me because their dog
Yeah,
walker, with no training or behavior knowledge at all, has told them something different.
yep.
So it's happened quite a lot recently. There's a dog walker dishing out some very horrible dog training advice that's going to get the dogs into lots of trouble, but they are using the dog walker because A, they're cheaper,
Yeah,
B, they've told them what they want to
yeah.
hear, and so I don't
I've
have.
had a training client who I told them to stop using a certain walker
Yeah,
while we were training. They've gone back, but that's their problem, not mine.
yeah, yeah.
It is what it is. If they don't want to follow my advice, then so be it. It.
Yeah, but that's what they're paying you for, and that's what I don't
Mhm.
understand. If I've had so many clients, I have great clients that follow everything I tell them, and it's amazing. But then I also have clients that come to me, I tell them obviously something that they don't want to hear and they don't want
Yeah,
to listen. So if I say to someone, look, your dog's not going to get better unless you take them out of daycare, and they go, oh, actually, my dog really needs daycare, and they're not going to take the dog
yeah,
out, I can't do any more.
no. And that's the thing for me as well, and why I find that ensuring that someone's got first aid DBS and all of that is important, is because you know that that person either genuinely cares about their dog or they're actually interested. So, like
Yeah.
you said, if they haven't got any, I mean, it's on my website, I've got about 10 different CPD qualifications just
Mhm.
that I've done on my spare time. So, I did half of mine in lockdown just for the sake of doing something. Um, so, it's all just additional learning, but it means that I know a little bit more of what I'm on about. Whereas like this is really bad, but it was in a it got sent to me, but it was in a dog walkers group on Facebook.
Yeah.
Someone had asked if a Staffy was a banned breed of dog and can they walk them?
And you just think, don't you? If
I'm
you
sorry, you
yeah.
shouldn't be a dog walker if you think a Staffy is a banned breed.
I had one the other day in a dog walking group as well, and someone had done a post, and they were like, "I've just been hired by somebody to walk their husky? I want to say husky. They were like, we've been hired by someone to walk their husky. Is a husky a type of breed that can go off the lead?"
Oh, you sent me that.
I think I sent it to you, didn't I? I'm sure it was a husky or it was an Akita or something. It was big and
Yeah.
fluffy, and they were like, "Can this go off the lead?"
And that's the thing with I slightly understand that because there's a big misconception with huskies and that they'll just run and they'll never come back.
Oh, 100%. No, I got
And I
it. But
get that.
just it was like you've not met the dog yet. You don't know what their
Hmm.
recall's like. And you've just kind of made this sweeping statement of
Yeah.
can this breed go off the
But
lead?
that's the thing for me when it came to the Staffy thing, like I get all the confusion around the XL bullies currently because it's new.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't know if you're insured to cover them. You don't know like the laws are a bit all over the place at the minute.
100%. Yeah.
Before that, and for as long as I've been alive, there have been 4 banned breeds in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got is it Fila
I
Brasileiro,
can't
Doggo
say them.
Argentino, Pitbull, and then what's the other one? There's another one.
There is
One
another.
more.
I
I do
can't.
know it. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But there's been 4
Yeah.
for as long as I've been alive until the XL got introduced. And I don't actually feel like you need to know dogs to know half of that.
I think,
Maybe some of the more
yeah.
like in not intricate breeds, but you know what I mean. Everyone knows pit bulls are banned. That's
Yeah, everyone. You
not
don't have to be a
no.
dog person to know that. Yeah.
But you also don't have to be a dog person to know that staffies aren't banned.
Yeah. It
There's
concerns.
a lot of staffies
And
around.
I get sent a lot of questions from various dog walkers, and you read them and you go, you should know this.
Yeah.
Like if you're being
And
paid,
it's concerning.
yeah.
That's like me going to my mechanic with a flat tire and him be like, "Oh, the toilet's a bit flat." Well, yeah, that's why I've come so you can change my
It is.
tire.
I agree. And I just think I think if you're a dog walker, if you're in charge of anyone's animal, anyone, you should have some very basic at best knowledge
Hmm.
of what you're doing and how to look after them if it goes
And
wrong.
the thing is, you don't have to go and do really expensive courses.
Not at
Like
all.
I've done some from Centre of Excellence, which are £30.
Yeah.
There's so many discount codes, and if it again, it gives you basic knowledge,
Yeah.
but it gives you more knowledge than your nan knows. Like,
Or go and, so I do it all the time. Go and shadow a dog trainer in
yeah,
classes for a couple of weeks. Just say to them, look, I really want to make sure I'm doing my job well. Can you let me come and observe some classes? Can you just point out things that I should be noticing? I'd be more than happy to do that if it means
yeah,
somebody's,
yeah.
doing a
And
better job with somebody's pets.
so for me, this conversation ties quite nicely into our next subject.
Yeah.
So I think it is very clear when
Hmm.
you've got a family dog owner
Yeah.
or you have a dog lover owner.
Okay.
So you've got the dog lover owners, which are like me and you. You
Hmm.
can spot us from a mile off. We've got
Yeah.
poo bags hanging out of our pocket. We've got our bum bags. We've got treats everywhere. We've got our wellies or our boots on. Like we're very easily identifiable. You've then got the pet dog owner.
Yeah.
No hate,
No.
but their dog's on the other side of the field to them.
Yeah.
They're sat on their phone
Yeah.
and couldn't care less about where the dog is.
I think, yeah, you've summed that up really well. So yesterday, I took my dogs to the field, which is, what I do all the time, but I take them to the field and the field's kind of split in half. So you'll see half of the people doing what I'm doing. So I'm in the middle of the field. I've got my treats. I've got my long line if needed. I've usually got a toy or something with me. And we're just having fun.
Yeah.
Most of 99% of the time, we're playing tug with the ball, or we're doing some tricks, or we're just doing some engagement of some description. And then you look around the rest of the field, and you've got people whose dogs are nowhere near them. Their dogs are usually trying to play with the dogs that I'm training because
Yeah.
I'm having good fun with the dogs. They're on their phone, they're drinking a coffee, they've met up with somebody and they're having a chat, and the dogs are doing their own thing. Like I think they're quite easy to spot.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having a lazy day. So the last time and I plan on doing it next week, isn't it? Sunday.
Yeah,
Last time I took the dogs to the secure field, I let them do as they please
yeah,
because I had admin to do.
yeah.
But there's also the fact that Woody's got a shoulder injury, so I can't throw the ball for him at the minute. He can run, but he
Yeah.
can't. So when he runs after the ball, he hyperextends and
Okay.
then he hurts the
Yeah.
shoulder. But he can just like run like he does pottering around after Bucky. So there is times where you can just be the lazy dog owner and
100%.
just.
I've done it.
But I wouldn't do that every single time I go to the secure field.
No. It just, again, as you've said brilliantly before, if you're always meeting up and seeing a dog and their expectation of that dog is you get to go and run about and play with that dog for ages, you're going to set up the same expectation. We come to this field, I unclip you, and you can go and do
Yeah,
whatever you want for an hour.
yeah,
It just creates a lack of engagement. And don't get me wrong, I've had times where I've gone to the field. I've either let Sherlock off or he's on a long line if I'm somewhere new because obviously he's deaf. And I've walked around and I'm drinking my coffee. I'm not doing any training with him. I'm just letting him sniff and do whatever he wants. And that's fine.
yeah,
But then don't then complain that you're not getting any engagement from your dog if
yeah.
you're doing that all the time.
And I do find that it's very rare that you get a pet dog owner with
Mhm.
a reactive dog.
Yeah.
And it's not that, what's the way to say it? So generally, if you get a reactive dog, you end up having to learn about your dog.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's only because Woody became reactive that I became a dog trainer.
My first dog was a reactive one.
And you end up having to learn how to deal with it. You have to learn about dog body language and stuff like that. So you go from what you might have been a pet dog owner before,
Yeah.
move into the dog lover stage because you've got to focus all of your efforts on the dog.
Yeah.
You've got to go from the person that, oh, my dog can just run around to the, no, I need to know what I'm doing here in order to keep my dog safe. And it's very rare that you do get a pet dog owner still with a reactive dog that
Yeah.
don't. You do, and I do find this is obviously a bit prejudiced, but you do find that it is generally the older generation where they're, oh, he's just grumpy, he'll be fine. Like,
Yeah.
you still get them, but not as often. And I do think my generation slash younger are a bit more aware of it now.
Yeah.
There's not many, or I don't see as many who aren't completely on top of it with their dogs and wanting to learn about everything to ensure that their dog's okay. Um, Older generations so are less in that way.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think as well, on the flip side a little bit, I have a lot of clients that are very quick to label their dog as reactive
Yeah,
when maybe they're just being a normal teenage
yeah.
dog. Teenage dogs are horrible, but that doesn't mean that they're all reactive. They are
And I
just,
think the hard bit is that like when they say reactive, they think of it as like aggressive. They don't mean
yes. Yeah.
a lot of them are frustrated. Whereas
Yes.
like, oh, he's so aggressive, he's barking, he's lunging, he's going towards the other dog. Right, but so I had a client and first they did really well the other day.
Yeah.
We did a bit of a reactivity session. I was like, it's 100% frustration. He's just frustrated. Blah, blah, blah. We accidentally dropped the lead. The dog didn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
I said, if your dog was aggressive, he would have run up to that other dog and he would have gone hell for leather at it.
I work with some
Aggression,
reactive dogs, and I don't think I've ever had one that was truly, truly aggressive.
yeah. And I don't like, obviously, there are dogs that are truly aggressive, but
Oh
generally,
yeah.
with dogs who are truly aggressive, there is a lot of trauma behind. And I don't mean the trauma of they've been attacked once. I
Yeah.
mean, there are dogs that have been beaten by someone. There are dogs that have been bait dogs.
Yeah.
It's dogs who have experienced a lot of trauma, not just they've been attacked here and there.
I think a
And
lot
my
of,
other thing, sorry,
yeah.
just to
No,
get
go
this
on.
one out. The other thing that I find, and one thing I find really frustrating, I had to explain this to my staff member the other day, is that a lot of people, oh, my dog's been attacked. Right. Have they been attacked or have they been rushed?
Yes.
Two different things for me. Has a dog come over to you and yeah, right, they've got in your dog's face, they've had a bit of a bounce around,
Yeah.
or have they been mauled?
Yeah.
Because there's two different things.
Yeah.
If your
It is
dog's not been
different.
injured, it's not been
Yeah.
attacked.
Yeah. So Sherlock has been bitten by a dog before. One ran over and bit him on his face. Um and part of me was like, oh my God, my dog is now going to become reactive. Like
Yeah.
this is
And
worse.
that's, I get it, that's everyone's first port of call,
100%.
but it's what you do after that.
He's fine. He's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
I think
It's
I
what
gave
you
him
do
a
after
couple
that
of
that
days. I gave him a
creates it.
couple of days of decompression. We were like, right, okay, we'll just have some nice walks. I won't pressure you. We'll just go for some walks, fine. He was a little bit more fixated on dogs for a while afterwards. And by a while, I mean like a couple of days.
Yeah.
He wanted to be like, oh my God, I need to watch that. And then we went out with my friend's dogs who happened to have the same breed as the one that he was
Yeah.
attacked by. He's absolutely fine.
Yeah. And generally, again, it does, as we said previously, it does come down to like the dog's breed history and like how well they were raised and stuff like that. But if they are a well-rounded dog,
Yeah.
it shouldn't have too much effect. Obviously, if they've been mauled, it's different.
Yeah.
But if a dog's just come over, rushed them, unfortunately, one little bite
Yeah.
is likely not to affect them.
I think that's where it comes in, though. The topic beautifully is your pet dog, family dog, your dog lover's dog, whatever. If something happened to one of our dogs, we're going to be on it.
Yeah,
Like, we're going to be like, right, it's happened. I didn't want that to happen, but it's happened. This is how we're going to fix it.
it happens. Like
Yeah.
Bucky's been in scraps where he's an adolescent male and he just gets overexcited. Like I said, he does it with his brother,
Yeah.
and we don't just end the walk there because they've had a scrap. You put them on lead and you carry on with the rest of the walk. So my client's dog got attacked again the other day, or not again, but the other day, and she texted me, "What do I do?" It's like, right, meet up with a friend who has a dog who your dog's friendly with. If
Yeah.
they're best buds, take them out for a quick 10-minute walk so that he has a good experience with another. Same with get like horse
Yeah.
riders. So if I fall off my horse, I've got to get back on.
Yes.
And it's not that, I think people get confused on it sometimes. It's actually just to get rid of the trauma. So
Yeah.
right, you've fallen off, but if you can physically get back on, you get
Yeah.
back on straight away to make sure you get back on.
Yeah.
Because if you get rid of that trauma of falling off, right, all right, I'm not hurt, but if I don't do this now or never, I'm never going to get back on again. And actually, it's for the horse as well. So if she gets spooked by me falling off and I don't get back on, the next time I get back on, she's going to freak out.
Yeah.
The last time I fell off my horse, I dislocated my shoulder. I got on with a dislocated shoulder
Yeah.
and got back off 5 minutes later. But
Because otherwise you're going to build it up, aren't you? You're going to be
yeah,
sat there overthinking about it, going, oh my
yeah,
God, what if it happens again? What
yeah.
if it's
So
worse?
you
Like,
do it in that moment of adrenaline. So that's why if I said it to my, I've said it to a couple of times. If something happens, get them out with a friendly dog. Get them out with a dog they can have a good experience with.
yeah,
Get on with it today, and then they can have a rest day. Because the longer you leave it, the longer they fester.
100%. Yeah, and it's like it's kind of similar. So I've had we went to Dogfest and there were two dogs there that I didn't know were reactive or aggressive or whatever you want to call it at the time. They happened to be Dalmatians. We went to say hello to each other. The male Dalmatian that was there properly got in my dog's face and was really rude. He did that whole head over the
Yeah.
shoulder, I'm gonna growl at you thing. And Sherlock turned around and said, no, thank you. And
Mm-hmm.
he had a bit of it was not horrible. He growled at him and told him to back off. And the people I were with were like, oh my God, your dog's really aggressive. Does that not concern you? And I was like, no, because he was just telling that dog that he didn't like what he was.
Yeah.
I said, and there's a difference there between a dog being aggressive and a dog just going, I don't like
Yeah.
that.
And I think I've had to explain this to clients before. They don't like when their dog growls. I'm like, but it's
Yeah,
communication.
Yeah, and I think people are very quick to label that. So I've got some owners that would then go, oh, my dog's aggressive. I'm never going to put them with
Hmm.
another dog again. And then all of a sudden you've got an issue that was never an issue, but you've
Yeah.
now turned it into an issue. So I think that's one of the differences as well, is how you handle it, but also having the knowledge.
Yeah. And that's why for me, so we've got puppy class tonight, but at the end of every puppy class, we do 5 minutes of play. So last week we didn't because it was intro week. They can have a greet in, but they don't play straight away.
Yeah.
Tonight, we'll let them have 5 minutes of maybe off lead, depending on how the rest of the dogs are. And I said it to him, I point out if your dog's rude, I'll point out if your dog's scared, I'll point out body language because you need to learn as a dog owner what is and isn't acceptable.
Yeah.
And not enough dog trainers are doing that.
No, I agree. No, I agree completely. Yeah.
All right. I think, what are we on? I think that is enough for today's episode.
So,
Next episode ties in quite nicely to this. So join us next week for our episode. It will be episode 6.
yes.
So thank you for joining. Like, subscribe, follow, share, and we will see you next week.
See you then.
Thank you.